Okay, so last night, sometime after 9:30 at the Outer Harbor, there was a concert there. Everything was going, fairly smooth. Uh, we got a report some kind of an issue occurred. It appears that it might have been some kind of a fight or a shoving match amongst two people, which kind of escalated. Uh, Other reports that we're getting, someone yelled something about a firearm, which caused people to scatter. It caused people to run in the same direction, which numerous people fell. Um, 7 people were taken to the hospital by various methods. 2 people went to Sisters. The other 5 people went to ECMC. The worst of it was a broken arm, the report that we got. The other individuals, very minor bumps, bruises, abrasions. Thankfully, nothing serious. We've seen this around the country where, something has occurred, a false alarm on something that has led to much more serious injuries. That did not occur here. This incident caused the concert to pause for what I'm told was about 10 minutes. Security inside the venue handled it with the assistance of Buffalo Police, who were on the outer perimeter as we detail officers to every event that occurs there. Officers from other districts were called in as a precaution. They were able to get order restored, and then the concert started up again relatively quickly. There was, I believe, one more act after that, which had a short set. The concert ended. I got a call from our special events captain about midnight that said that pretty much everything was cleared out. Egress seemed to have gone fine, so this was the issue that occurred there last night.
Like there was at least initially one report possibly of gunshots being fired. Did you get any understanding of whether that was accurate or not?
So we have no evidence of shots fired. What we're speculating is that there's a lot of bike racks in use there, and when a lot of the crowd went towards the right side of the stage, bike racks were knocked over. We know that that can cause a loud bang, and we think that that's possibly where somebody may have mistaken the sound of gunfire. There were no reports of gunfire. Nothing was substantiated. Nobody else reported any, and there was no evidence of gunfire.
Oh, sorry. Is it worrisome in some capacity? I mean, you think back to what happened in Rochester back in March with that stampede killing one Buffalo City employee. Is it worrisome that it could escalate? Because we're hearing more and more about these stampedes at events like this.
Well, I think you have to look at the difference between the two. That was an indoor facility, and everyone was trying to get out of a door. This is an outdoor facility. There's a lot of places, so that I don't think is a concern when you're talking about crowd control issues there. There's a lot of places that people can go. But anytime you have a large gathering, whether it be a concert, a sporting event, it doesn't really matter where it is. That's why you have to staff it accordingly. You have to have proper security. You have to have protocols in place. I think everything worked well last night between the security, Buffalo Police, Buffalo Fire, AMR. I think everything actually worked pretty well together, and we got through that unfortunate incident.
Going to be any change in terms of crowd control moving forward? I understand it's private security inside the concert, so do you think Buffalo Police is going to step in any different way moving forward?
No, because that inside that venue, inside that kind of fenced-in area, that's a private space. We do not police private events. That's why they hire security. We are on the outside doing outer perimeter security. They have ample security in there. And, as I said, unfortunately, things do happen at times. It's how you respond to them. And I think the response went very well last night. The coordination between security, our officers on site, the officers that responded from a couple other districts that were heading there in case it was anything bigger. I think the protocols were in place and they worked out well.
The Outer Harbor had said that they worked with you guys in some capacity as well as with the private security company to develop a plan for this concert or for the Outer Harbor in general. What was that plan exactly look like? Did that happen?
Yeah, so we have a special events captain. We created that captain's position several years ago, and that captain's sole responsibility is to engage with every large-scale event and even some smaller-scale events to handle our incident command planning, our staffing, work with the private security that's on site in any event venue so that we have an accounting of what's planned, the times, and how we're going to respond to something. So our special events captain was fully involved, as he has been with the concerts that go on there.
I've described it as being chaotic. How would you describe the scene there with people falling over, being injured, and people rushing away from the stage?
Well, I'm sure it was chaotic if you were in the middle of it. There's probably some areas of within that venue that probably didn't even know anything was going on. When you get 4,500 people, in an area that's, it's a lot of people. It is a large event venue space. So yeah, I'm certain it was chaotic for the people that were directly impacted by it, but from all reports, everything was brought under control very quickly.
We heard at least one woman who was pregnant was part of the group that fell and was possibly injured. Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't know if anyone was pregnant or not. I know there were a mix of men and women that were injured. And again, the worst of the injury that I have is a broken arm on one female. One male went to the hospital really because of a level of dehydration due to alcohol. But the other ones were all like bumps and bruises. A couple of people actually, I was told, left the hospital when they told it would be a wait because their injuries were minor, so they left untreated. There were some people that were also treated on scene that did not require any transport or any further medical assistance.
Speaking of the broken arm, you said we spoke with a woman who had a broken leg or broken knee. Was that, or injured knee? Did that?
I believe it might have been a sprain. Now, we all know things could change, as the night progresses, but there was a woman that had leg injuries. The initial report I got that it was a sprain. If it was, changed into something beyond that point, then that's beyond the report that I got.
Kind of off what Jeff was saying, we've heard from folks who were in the crowd who said that they were surprised that security didn't act sooner or wasn't more involved in patrolling the concert. Obviously, it's private security at that point. Is that a discussion that Buffalo Police would have, in retrospect, and saying, hey, maybe there needed to be more here and adjustments to be made?
Well, we constantly evaluate, just like the security companies. They're going to constantly evaluate when whether something went very well or whether something didn't go so well. But when you're in the middle of something's happening. It does seem like an eternity before help gets there. So there's that perception of how long did it actually take. From what I'm told, everything was restored, and the pause in the concert was about 10 minutes. I think that's pretty fast.
Too, because we're hearing different verbiage. You would not consider this a stampede, more of just there's an incident that happened near the stage and that led to pushing and shoving and then people running.
No, I think it was a bunch of people that were trying to run to a direction. They thought something was happening. They got held up by some fencing, some bike rack barrier towards the back side of the stage. It's meant to keep people out from behind the stage, and that's what caused people to fall as they were all running in the same direction. So.
Video that's been posted on YouTube, the moments leading up to what happened there. It seemed like there's a sound of gunshots, but it could be mistaken for the actual music. So I wonder whether you've seen that video and whether you make anything of that possibly leading to what happened there.
You know what? I've not seen the video. Whether it was the music, I don't know what was playing at the time that this occurred. We do know that bike racks got knocked over, and if there was something in the music, that I don't know. But like I said, we have no confirmation of gunshots. We have no evidence of gunshots. We have nobody coming forward saying that there were gunshots beyond the initial statement or information that was provided within the crowd. So, I think it's fairly safe to say at this point that it's unsubstantiated.
What is the check-in policy procedure there? Are there metal detectors?
So that's getting a little outside of the scope of the Buffalo Police side of things. That's private security. However, there are metal detectors that everyone has to walk through. But, that's really the extent of what I'll get into on what their internal security measures are. You'd have to inquire within the venue space on, what their security measures are. How deep they're going to get into that, I don't know, because, we like to keep operational planning kind of closely guarded.
No issues with the Skyway this time around, because a week ago there was at least one report of people walking on the Skyway.
Yeah, no. Well, like I said, I got a call from my special events captain a little after midnight last night and said that everything was cleared out and the egress went well. So, it's kind of like what I said last week. You've got 4,500, 5,000 people that are, into an event space. There's ample free parking. Hopefully more people use that parking. There's a lot of spaces that you can go park down there, but it's going to take time to get out of there. And when you look at, and I pointed out, you go to the stadium, you go to the Sabres game, especially if you park inside the parking ramp, and you go to Darien Lake. Anyone's been to a concert at Darien Lake, unless you're leaving in the second last song, you're probably waiting 2 hours to get out of there. So, it's what's to be expected when you are at a large venue area.
Plan to increase patrols or the police presence next week, or this coming concert?
We base our staffing on a variety of factors. Attendance is one of those things that we base those on. I think we were appropriately staffed last night, so I think we had what we needed there. And again, given how quickly the venue, the concert started back up again and order was restored, I think it worked.
Do you think the Outer Harbor is an appropriate venue for a venue of that size? There's kind of one way in, one way out kind of traffic.
Well, it's really kind of two ways out. When you're coming out of that parking lot, we direct traffic into two directions, one going east, one going west, to hit Route 5. So one, you're going to be hitting the Skyway coming inbound, and you're getting pushed the other way. You're going to be hitting Route 5 towards Lackawanna. So it's, there's a wide open space there. There's ample parking, and I think the biggest factor is that they cap the ticket sales. If you just left it open and you sold 10, 15, 20,000 tickets, now you're going to have some issues. But I think they recognize the space that they have, and they're capping the ticket sales at an appropriate number for the space that's there. So about just before 3 o'clock in the morning, today's date, a walk-in victim of a shooting, non-fatal shooting, walked into ECMC. He advised our detectives that he was at Templeton Landing. Information was provided to our detectives on scene that there was some sort of an after party, apparently from the concert that occurred. They were selling tickets to get into Templeton Landing, which to me speaks to some type of a third-party promoter event, which we are investigating, we're looking into. But there was apparently some kind of a fight inside the establishment that carried outside the establishment when shots were fired. That's when this individual was struck. Again, it was a non-fatal injury. Got into a vehicle with somebody else and was driven to ECMC. There were officers that were on scene in the parking lot when this occurred. It's not a normal night down there. There's not typically open. Our officers were over there on a directed patrol because they observed a large amount of cars there. Obviously, the business was operational, and we conduct regular patrols down in the waterfront area. We had officers that were down doing a directed patrol that were in that parking lot at the time that the gunshots occurred, so the response was immediate. About an hour and a half after that, there was another shooting victim that went to the hospital again, driven by private vehicle. That individual, again, a non-fatal injury, driven by private vehicle. That individual advised detectives that he was shot on Broadway. However, no scene was able to be determined. That individual also provided information that he also was at Templeton Landing at the establishment for the party. So we're investigating whether or not that's a second shooting victim from that location. Again, both of those were non-fatal injuries.